Hello, good evening, everyone. People joining on Insta now. Hello, good evening. This is Emmanuel from Softlandings. I'm here with the UK Property Show. I have a few people joining on YouTube as well. So I'll just see. Okay, thank you all for your time. Thank you for joining. Hello, Funlolafa. Good evening. Thanks for being here once again. I do appreciate your support. Yes, this evening, I'm just going to dive straight into it and we'll see how many people join along the way. We're talking about the UK school system, the UK educational system. Now, why are we talking about the educational system on a property show? The reason why is a lot of you are coming across with your children, you're coming with school-age children, and where you actually live has a huge impact on what schools your child can go to. So we've had a lot of questions where people approach us and say, I want a property, but I want it close to a good school, stuff along that vein. So I thought it'd be really useful to just address a few pressing concerns that have been coming up, mainly as well to explain the differences between the UK system and the Nigerian system as it translates. If you know me on this show already, you know I want you to start learning the terms which I used over here so you are familiar with what they're saying. It is quite similar. I mean, they have primary school, secondary school in the same way, but they tend to use different terms, and that's where we can actually get confused sometimes. So we're just going to go over a few bits. If you do have any questions on property, no worries. I'll still take your questions tonight on houses, location, prices, that sort of stuff. We're just going to do a little 10-15-minute bit on the school system here. And then after that, please feel free to send your questions. If you are on Instagram and you do have a question, I would plead with you to go onto our YouTube page and send it there, and we can put the question on the screen. But if you can't, never mind, that's fine. We'll still take your questions here. Okay, so just on the screen on YouTube and Facebook, we've got the UK school system, and we're going to start with the various type of schools we have in the UK. Now, the one that is more relevant to your situation is what we call a state school. A state school. So these are free schools that your children can attend. Education is compulsory in the UK between the ages of 5 to 16. After 16, if your children decide they don't want to go to school, they're free to go into the job market, start working, that sort of thing. But in terms of primary education and, secondary, we call them state schools. These are the free schools which anybody can attend. Now, the main sort of requirement for entry into state schools is your location and a catchment area. And this is why we're discussing schools this week on the property show. There's various ways of measuring how close you should be. So I've had so many people come up to me and say, oh, how far does the house have to be from the school for me to be able to get into this school because I really like this school for my child? The sad news, well, not sad news, but unfortunately, there's no defined limit. It varies from year to year. So in 1 year, it can be 10 miles away. In the next year, it could be 5 miles away. It all depends on the amount of school places that are available, how many children have applied to that school, and even factors as how many current children in that school have siblings that are starting that year. So let's say there's a child in that school who is in equivalent of primary 4 in Nigeria, and they have a younger brother starting in primary 1. The younger child who is starting in primary 1, who has a sibling already in the school, will normally be given preference to a child who has no brother in the school. So little things like that tend to make people a bit confused about that. But we're hoping we can shed a bit of light, get you doing your research, and then just help you with your choices. So the first thing we want to know about is state schools. Those are the kind of schools that you will most likely be looking to put your children into when you've just come from Nigeria, a state school. Okay, so what other type of schools do we have? And if you're watching on Facebook or Instagram, you see I'm putting all of this on the screen. We've got private schools. they are also called public schools. Now, it's very confusing because how do you call it private and you call it public at the same time? It's just different terminology. Sometimes they are termed as private schools. That's how we in Nigeria will understand what that type of school is. But they also call them public schools. Yeah. So if you see someone saying, oh, my child went to public school, that sort of thing, it means they went to a private school, not a state school. So the opposite to private here is not public. The opposite to private is state, private. And private and public mean the same thing. Sometimes they are called independent schools as well. The thing about these private, public, independent schools, whatever term you choose to use out of those three terms, is they tend to be really, really expensive. A good range will be about £15,000 for a year of secondary school. So it's not like private in Nigeria where everybody wants to get their children into private school. It's kind of the opposite over here. So you would normally want a state school, and then the very rich people tend to go to private schools or independent schools. Also, some other type of independent schools we have are religious schools. Like you will find schools that are for Catholics because they've been founded by the Catholic Church. You will find schools that are Jewish schools because by the Jewish sort of synagogue for that area. All other types of schools we have, and academies are sort of new that have come in as well. So if you're just joining us, we're just talking about schools today, the types of schools and how that affects your property search. I mean, this is not a school channel. We get so many questions on this, so we thought we'll do a quick session on it. Okay, so those are the differences. So you know what public-private is. It's the same thing. Now, nursery is very similar to Nigeria. Between 2 and 4, children go to nursery school, which is same parallel, same exact thing. So there's nothing confusing there. The next stage you get to is primary school. So here, primary school, there are different terms being used in primary school, which are quite, it's good to get the differences. And what you will notice when you come over here is children don't say, I'm in primary 1, primary 2. They will say things like, I'm in year 1, year 5, and there's all the way up to year 7, year 8, So I beg your pardon, all the way to year 6, but it's not primary 6 like we know it. So yes. In primary school, if you're on YouTube or Facebook, you could probably see this on the screen. You start at primary school at year 5, age 5. So when you are 5 years old, you would normally start primary school. Between 4 and 5, it's quite similar to Nigeria. The difference, though, is you have to apply 1 year before. So at the end of the second year of nursery, at the beginning of the second year of nursery, you start applying for primary school. Yes. And as soon as they go into primary school, they have reception. So reception is 1 year. It's normally between 4 to 5 years old. You do 1 year of reception, and then they go on to infants, something called infants. So infants is also known as year 1 and year 2. So infants is called year 1 and year 2 here as well. You'll do that between the ages of 5 to 7. That's infant school. And then after infants, you've got juniors. So juniors is year 3, year 4, year 5, year 6. So there's 4 years of juniors. All of this is still within primary school. So it's just different terms used. It's very similar to the Nigerian system. It's just to get you familiar to the school. So you have reception for 1 year between the age of 4 and 5. You have infants, which is also referred to as year 1, year 2. And that's between 5 and 7 years old. And then you have juniors, which is also called year 3, year 4, year 5, and year 6. And that goes from 7 years old to 11. So, I mean, most children in Nigerian primary schools tend to finish by 11 anyway and go on to secondary school. So, year 3, year 4, year 5, year 6, that's juniors. Okay. And after that, you go to secondary school. So secondary school is called year 7, year 8, year 9, 10, and 11. So it's 5 years. They don't call it secondary school here all the time. You very rarely hear people say secondary school. The children, they'll just tell you, oh, I'm in year 7, I'm in year 9, I'm in year 10, I'm in year 11. So that's where it differs a bit from the Nigerian system. If you think of it in the Nigerian system, it's just, secondary school, so 5 years, from year 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. I know this is a bit confusing if you're on Instagram. If you do follow us on YouTube, the link is in the bio, is the first link. All of this I'm saying is on the screen. You can also go back and watch this video later. So it's all sort of condensed there for you. And that's what secondary school is here. So that's the difference. We call it year 7, year 8, year 9, 10, and 11. Okay. Now, you would finish year 11 around 16 years old. Whereas in Nigeria, secondary school, I think you finish about 17 or 18. So there's a bit like 1 year difference there. And then you go on to what we call sixth form college. So sixth form college is 2 years between 16 and 18. That's what we call sixth form college. So it will be similar to the last 2 years of secondary school in Nigeria, or sort of the first year of university, but it's called sixth form college. You only study 4 subjects in sixth form college, and it leads up to A levels. So, you know, they'll take subjects like law and English, maths, and maybe one other thing. But it leads you up to your A levels. As soon as you finish the sixth form college of 2 years, you take your A levels at the end of that, and then you go on to university for your undergraduate for just 3 years, which most of you are coming for university education. So you probably are, university here is only 3 years. So the 2 years, which is the difference in our secondary and primary, where they've moved the years around, it still sort of adds up in the end. But yeah, that's how it works out. Now, between the ages of 16, children can choose to go to sixth form college if they want to continue on an educational path. For children that don't want to continue on education, there's also other options. So they can go to vocational college, which leads to BTECs and MVQs. And it's a valid route here. You know, it's not like Nigeria where everybody is pushing to go to university. A lot of tests. We have the key stages here as well, where they do testing at different levels. And then at a certain stage, they would have assessed them and say, okay, you might be better doing something vocational as opposed to going into university. And you can go to vocational college, you can get a BTEC, you can get an MVQ, and you can still go to university after that if you wish. So it's just for children who are more artistic, you know, children who want to do woodworking, other sort of stuff. You can just do your BTECs from there, and at the end of that, you get an apprenticeship. So those are sort of the differences in terms. I mean, this is not a comprehensive, you know, educational show. If you have more questions about this, you can reach out to us, or you can do some more research on it. But it's good you start getting familiar with the terms, and as well the timelines in which you need to apply, because a lot of school places here are very tight. So that leads me on to what I'm going to be talking about next, which is what is relevant to us in property: catchment areas. Catchment areas, that's the really relevant part. Now, catchment areas differ for different local authorities and different schools, how they measure it. If you were here at the start of the show, you might have heard me saying things like, it depends on how many miles you are from the school, how close you are to the school, especially if you're going to a state school, which is a free school. For the secondary part, if you're going to a private school, they have different tests they have to do, different exams. Whereas with state schools, which are the government schools, which are free schools, it's normally not based on a test. It's normally based on how close you are to that particular school will determine if you can go there. Yes. So sometimes it's measured in a straight line, like house, you know, just from your house to the school, how close you are. Sometimes it's measured by walking distance. And sometimes they prioritize children that if that's the nearest school to them, they are a priority to go to that school. Also, there's other ways they use to calculate this. So every year might differ. 1 year, they might take people up to sort of 3 miles away. The next year, they might only take 1 mile away. Another important thing, like I said at the start of the show, is how many siblings from that family go to that school. So every school in UK has a set number of places each year. So this school, maybe there's one school there, and their number of places they have to give out this year could be 50. Now, out of those 50 places, if there are siblings in there where there are 20 people who have brothers that are coming in that year or sisters, they will be the priority to go in. So in effect, there's less spaces for other people, but they try and prioritize siblings to go to the same school. So yeah, in terms of catchment areas, those are the things you need to know when you're looking for a house. Another really important thing you should note is Ofsted ratings. So I'm just putting that on the screen on YouTube now. Ratings. And this is probably the singular most important thing about this session, which you should find out about in your research for schools. Usually people come to us and ask us like, oh, what's the best school? We wouldn't give you a recommendation because I think that is wrong. We don't want to influence your search in that sort of way. So to you normally to find out the school you like, and you tell us the postcode, and then we find houses that are close to that postcode. That's sort of how we work, because we don't really advise on education, but this session is just a quick 10-minute thing to sort of guide people. So when you want to start your research for schools, look at Ofsted ratings. Now, Ofsted ratings, there are 3 or 4 different ratings. Your school could either be rated outstanding, which means it's a perfect school, it's hitting all the right notes. Maybe 70% of children who finish from that school get places at university straight away, all that sort of stuff. They've got good educational aids. They're almost as good as private schools, even though they are state schools. So that would be an outstanding school. The more common school you will get is rated as good. So if it's rated as good, that means, you know, they're good. They're not outstanding, but they're just good. They're meeting all the targets they should be meeting for Ofsted. You will get some schools in areas that are improving. Now, these are the schools you really don't want to go to, because it means there are issues in the school. Maybe a lot of the children who finish from there don't make it into uni. The educational standard is not as good as other schools. So improving schools, good schools, that's sort of where most people fall into. Anything below that, you know, it's not even worth it. So you want to look out for schools that are rated good by Ofsted good. If you can find an outstanding school, brilliant. They're not a lot and they have very few places available. But if you do find one, of course, you know, target that area. And how does this affect property prices? You will find that houses that are in the catchment area of an outstanding school will normally be more expensive. So some of you in your search, you might have found out that, okay, there's 2 bedrooms for 800 and there's 2 bedrooms for 1,003, and you don't understand why these differences exist. Schools are a big factor in that. If there's an outstanding school in that area, it means there's a lot of pressure on that area. People want to live in that area, so they fall within the catchment area of that school. So these are little things that you need to watch out to. And it's really important you get your child into a good school, because everything here leads into the next stage. So if they don't start out right, say in primary school, then they don't get a good secondary school place, leads on to universities, and even universities have rankings. So you want to go to a fairly good university, not just any university and just come out. I mean, when we're leaving Nigeria, anyone who gives us admission will tend to go with just to get there. But if you're thinking of your children's future, how they fall into the society here as well, these are things you need to take note of. Okay, so that's most of what we will touch on education. Like I said, it's not an education show. We just wanted to give you a bit of an idea why catchment areas are important. And yes, that we'll leave it there. So if you do have any questions sort of on schools, you know, schools in certain areas, why they're rated, you can always send those through. If you have any questions on property, I'll happily take those now. If you have anything about property sort of thing, we're here to take your questions. So please feel free to send them on YouTube, Instagram. We'll answer those questions. Okay. So while I wait, okay. Are there sports schools? So I just got one on Instagram from Funla Lafa. Thank you so much. Are there sports schools, Islamic schools? Yes, there are Islamic schools and there are sports schools. Now, sports schools are mostly academies. They're called academies. They're like at the secondary school level. there would normally be private schools or linked to certain sports. So there's some schools you go to. Rugby is a very big sport in the UK, and football as well. So there's certain academies you go to where they prioritize sports. Coaches come there to look for new talent, that sort of thing. They have good sports education. So there are, but there's not a lot of them. So most schools will have a good sort of sporting curriculum anyway, but there's a few who do focus on sports exclusively. Okay, so the next question we have there is, can one put a child on a waiting list, and how early? So for most schools, you will normally register a year before, at the start of the school year, before the stage you're trying to get into. So, when children are going from nursery to primary school, sort of, they start primary school about 5 years old. So at the beginning of year 4, where they're in nursery, that's where you apply, the last year of nursery. So before, if they finish their nursery year, you apply at the start of that year and try and get a place in the primary school. It's the same thing with secondary schools as well. In year 6 of juniors, at the start of the year, you start applying for places in secondary schools. So yes, there's normally a lot of pressure on schools. A lot of time, people don't get their first choice. There'll be a really good school next to your house, but there will be a lot of pressure on it. All the good, outstanding schools, they normally have a lot of people already on the waiting list. So it's good to get in there early and start applying on time. Yes. Okay. So we got another question from Ego Gadzama on Instagram. How much is a 2-bedroom in Grays Essex? So yeah, we're back to property. That's a property question. I'll check that out for you. Just give me a second. Did we have that question last week, Ego Gadzama? Because I remember your name. Okay, so let's have a look. You want Grays in Essex. And we want a 2-bed. Okay, if you do have any questions, please put them through. We're happy to take your questions. Ego Gadzama, you'd be looking somewhere in between 1,200 to about 1,350 for Essex. Yeah, 1,350, 1,250, that sort of range. So yeah, those are the prices for Grays Essex. Okay, so we got a few questions on YouTube. Good evening, Lillian Olu Osifo. You were here last week as well. Thank you for joining again. At what age can I get my child into a nursery school, and how many hours of school are allowed per week? Nursery school, they normally finish about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So they start about 8 to 2. Yeah, and as they go on longer, the school day goes on longer as well. So nursery, you do finish quite early. Let's just see. I did put this on the screen earlier. I'm not too sure if you're here, but I'll put that on there. So nursery is from 2 to 4 years old. So that's when you can get your children in nursery, which is pretty similar to Nigeria. So between the ages of 2 and 4. And at the beginning of the second year of nursery, you want to start applying for primary school straight away. So I hope that answers your question. In terms of how many schools are allowed, every school is different. So there's not a fixed school day, to be honest. There's schools where they would finish at 2:15, 2:30, some would finish at 2. So nursery is not very long. You also want to think of childcare if you're working. I did make this statement in a show a while back, and I think a lot of people reacted to that. There are fines given in the schools in the UK if you don't pick up your children on time. If your children miss school for no real reason, they just miss school for nothing, you can't take your children suddenly and go on holiday without informing the school. And even if you inform the school, they probably will not permit you, So schooling is very rigorous in terms of it being compulsory and how they check up on children's attendance. You need to be very good on times for collecting your children from school. If you miss the timing, they'll give you a fine. After the second or third time, they'll start having serious discussions with you. You're not allowed to leave your child in school for 30 minutes after school has finished. You have to be outside the gates waiting for your child at least 15 minutes before school closes. You're not allowed to be late at all. So 15 minutes after school time is already classed as late. 15, 30 minutes is very, very late. So they will give you a fine. If you take your children out of school without any just reason, like they're not sick or anything, and just decide not to take them to school, they will give you a fine as well. School is very, very rigorous here. There's homeschooling as well for people that might be wondering. You can get homeschooling here too. And but it's dependent on your local authority, which is like the local government, for them to approve homeschooling and how to set out a curriculum that they follow as well. Okay, Lillian, I hope that answers your question. I've got another one from Anita on YouTube as well. Is sixth form college is free for dependents? Yes, so school all the way up to 16 is free. After 16, which is where you go to college, I get pardon. Just see if I can put this. So 16 to 18, yes, it will be free. Yes, you wouldn't need to pay for sixth form college, except you went to a private school. So if you just went to a normal sixth form, it'd be free. And after they've been in the system for a few years anyway, they will qualify for free education at that stage. What will not be free for the children of dependents at this stage, because I am wary. A lot of people have children who are about 17, which is already university age here, 17, 18. If your children do have to go to university straight away coming from Nigeria, it won't be free. They will have to pay. So yeah, that's one to be wary about. Alternatively, they can go to a sixth form college and, a vocational college. They can also go into work straight away. If they're 17 or 18, they can start working part-time. But the earnings are not great because the minimum wage for under 18s is very low. So I don't normally encourage people to do that. Okay. Do I have to pay for nursery school from Lillian on YouTube? No, it's free as well. Nursery school places are free. You wouldn't have to pay. So payments only start from after college. So don't worry about that. Okay, so I got another couple of questions from, I beg your pardon, Abiodun Beola. Sorry if I've not pronounced your name properly. Okay, sorry if I've not pronounced that properly. How do I get a good school in an area that I've not gotten a property to live in that area? So this is why we're addressing schools. It's you cannot get into school without a permanent address yet. So if you're still at the stage of searching for property, you are not allowed to register your children in school yet. So that will be your first priority, is getting into a house. And while you are getting into a house, make sure it's a house that's close to a good school. So it goes hand in hand. And this is why we're addressing people now. You've also come with another question. What are the areas to live in Manchester with good primary schools? I do apologize. It's not one I can answer on this show. If you message me afterwards, we can go through that in a bit more detail. I do encourage people to do their own research on schools, because all you need to do, I'm going to put it back on the screen on YouTube. And it's called Ofsted ratings. And you can just go on their website, type in a certain area, it will tell you the ratings for each school in that area. So if for instance, you're coming on a skilled worker visa and I'm going to be working in the M15 area, you can go on Ofsted, look at the schools in M15, check their rating, and decide on the school you want to go to. Once you decide on that, then you come to us with the postcode and we find you a house in that area. We can't really, it's very complex for us to go into every single school that is in Manchester. You'll be talking of 200 schools. So I honestly wouldn't be able to give you an answer to that one. I do apologize. And you've got one more question. How does one apply for schools And can you apply to more than one school? So yes, certainly you can apply to more than one school. In most houses, there will be 2 or 3 schools in your catchment area. There will be the one that everybody wants to go to. There might be 1 or 2 that are not as, where people are not so wanting to get into. But there's every area, every locality, there are schools in there. So you just need to look in the radius of what's available. Check their rating on Ofsted. If it's good or outstanding, perfect. You can apply to both. Apply to both, see which one takes you. There's no restrictions on that. Okay, so we've got another question from Francis Mba on YouTube. Please, any university in the UK that offers lower initial deposit than 5,000. Okay, so that's something as well. I'm mainly concentrating on schools now, not universities. I do apologize because university is a whole different topic. Is that for yourself? Is that for a child? Because this show is mainly for children of dependents that are coming in. That's what we're trying to address. But if this is for yourself, contact us after the show. We would be able to help you with that in a separate forum. And I've got one last one from Anita on YouTube. Can I get admission for my children if I get to the UK in August? Also, can I get admission into the year 12? That is the last year of secondary school. So yes, you will be able to get admission. The reason why there's waiting list and people try to apply early is because there's certain schools you really want to get into. But if you've just come and you've come in the middle of the school year, you've come not at the right time, there'll be schools that still just have places left. They might not be the perfect school. They might not be, the best school in the area. But in terms of secondary school is compulsory in this country. So they will get you into somewhere. That is not in doubt. They will get you a place somewhere. It's just it might not be the school you want. So I wouldn't worry about getting in. I'm just having a look on Instagram. So we got a question from Robinson, 080283. When is the earliest you would advise one begins a search for accommodation for resumption in September 2023? Now, Robinson, that question depends on what part of the UK you're coming to. If you're coming to Cardiff, Hull, Portsmouth, Bristol, Swansea, Tree Forest, any of those universities, there's a lot of pressure. So if you're coming in September, I would say you need to start now. You need to start trying to secure something now as soon as possible, because we have people in Cardiff that have been here 4 or 5 months. They still haven't gotten a nice accommodation for themselves. And the reason why they haven't gotten is most of the places are filled up already, and they're advertising it that it's available for August and September for the next school year. So if you start now for the next school year, you could get something. Those people who are already here, they don't want to take something that is available in August or September, because where are they going to stay till August or September? That's obviously why. So you might even be lucky to get something ahead of people who are already here. So that would be my advice to you, is if you're in Cardiff, Swansea, Portsmouth, Hull, a few of these areas, if you're in Telegram groups where people in that school are telling you, oh, I've been looking for 2-3 months, Bournemouth, please start now as soon as possible. You will get something now, but if you wait till you come, you'd be in a very sticky position. Okay, so on YouTube, we have one other question from Taiwo Juliet. Hello, thank you for joining. Yes, it says, hello, my son will be 3 by May. Can he start schooling by September? Yes, he can start school in September. So if he's 3 in May, so he'll still be 3 in September, he can start nursery school, which is good. It's good when you come with them and they are young and they get into the system early. So as soon as he's in nursery school, as soon as he starts in September, you start applying for primary school, against when he'll be 4 years old. Or if he's going to stay 2 years in nursery, then you've got 1 whole year. And at the beginning of the next year, you start applying to primary schools. That's where you want to be, ideally, starting it's harder for children who are 7, 8, 10 coming to join the system because, it's already somewhere along. But if you're coming with a baby, under 2, 3 years old, you're coming at the perfect time. They will just, fit in straight into the system. And another thing that happens as well is some primary schools are linked to secondary schools in the area. So if you go to this certain primary school, it's very sure you will get a place in a good secondary school that's also in that area. So, Taiwo, you've come with a follow-up question as well. Is nursery school free? Yes, it is free. So you won't need to pay for that. So, you should be fine on that one. Okay, so we'll just see if we have a few more questions on Instagram. So we've got something from Queen Magic. Do you help with accommodation in Wales, Wrexham to be specific? So we do help with accommodation all across the UK. We help in Wales as well. It's just the problem with Wales is right now it's really hard to get accommodation. So I wouldn't promise you that we will get you something in 1 week or 2 weeks. It can take up to 3 weeks to a month in Wales. But we can certainly help you with your search. We can help you with securing it. We can help you by providing a guarantor, all that sort of things. If you don't have that, we can step in to help. It's still one country, it's still the United Kingdom. It's a smaller part of UK. And so many students didn't used to go there like they're going now. So it's put a lot of pressure on Wales. Funolafa, you've come with another one. Last week, you mentioned 3 rejections. How about one views all 3, then decides? That would be lovely. You won't get that time to decide, honestly. We are in a housing crisis. We are literally in a housing crisis. The thing with England and UK is things can be going so wrong, but everything just still looks good on the surface. So it doesn't feel like there's a crisis. But this is how it goes. We'll be searching for you. It will take 2 or 3 days just to book in one viewing, calling about 20 different properties. You go on the property websites, you might see 20 houses in the area you want. By the time you call each estate agent, they say, oh, sorry, it's gone. You call the next one, it's not there. By the time you get one that they actually allow you to view, you might be viewing with 20 other people. They will list about 15 to 20 people to view. So there's some people that have been waiting 2-3 months. As soon as they view, they will be making their offer. I want it, I want it, I want it. So you don't get the luxury of having so much time to say, okay, I don't want that. Let me go view 2 or 3 others. This is where I've had a client that has been stuck in a similar situation in London. And it's been taking her a month because she was fortunate at the beginning to get 4 places that were options for her. And she kept taking her time. Like, I'm not sure about this one. This is a bit big. This is too small. This is that. At the end, she's lost out on all of them because you have to realize you're in competition with a lot of other people. I advise people just coming from Nigeria now. I'm not saying take the first thing or if it's not up to your standard. If you want a luxury property, you want something, give us the price range you want to search in. But at every level of the market, at the low level, at the medium level, there is pressure on the market right now. So things are going very, very fast. If we book in one viewing for you now, we might not be able to get another viewing for another 2 or 3 days. In that period, somebody has surely made an offer on that first house. And then the landlord gives it to them, and then it's no longer an option for you. So our advice is usually once you see something you like, make an offer straight away. Another important thing, which is different from here and Nigeria, here we get people, let's say the house is being advertised for £800, you understand? And you go and view the property, and there's 5 people viewing with you. Now, for you to make your bid, you have to be offering $850. I know that they advertise there at 800. It's like an auction system. And a lot of people don't realize that. You just see the price there and you say, oh, I'll go and offer 800. They won't take you because there will be someone in that queue that is more desperate than you, that really wants that property, that says, I really want this property. So I'm happy to pay extra 50. After all, I've been waiting for 4 weeks. I'm paying Airbnb. I'm paying hundreds of pounds on Airbnb. I've been waiting for weeks and weeks. So I don't mind paying that extra £50 a month. So there's a way we structure your property bid. Sometimes what you see on the website is not what you end up paying. So that's just another freebie I'll put out there for people that are searching. Even if you're not searching with us, Sometimes if you really like the property, offer £20 more than what is being advertised, offer £50 more, because that's why you see so many times you would offer that, oh, I like it, I'm ready to take it. They will come back to you 2 days later and say the landlord went with somebody else. It's because that person just offered a little bit more. So that's something you need to be aware of. We don't price down here, we price up. It's a shock to many people, but that is the UK for you. Okay, so a few more questions coming in. Okay, so full Nolafa, I've answered that one. Yes, you may not get the time to be able to choose. So this is why we say try and go as quick as possible. Once you see something you like, make the offer. Okay, so we got Hanita. Thank you for joining. Good evening. What of Manchester and Bolton? I don't understand what the question is. Are you asking if we help in Manchester and Bolton? If you are asking that, yes, we do. We have a few properties on our page, which are in Bolton. So we definitely do help people in Manchester and Bolton, if that's the question. I'm not too sure what the question is. You've just said what of Manchester and Bolton, so it's out of context. Okay, so I'll take one quick one on YouTube as well. From Margaret Ajim. My 8-year-old sister is solely dependent on me. Is there any way I can list her as my dependent? Is that in terms of your visa application? You know, these things where people are coming as dependents, it's more if they are family, direct family, so your actual child. Now, if she's your sister, well, if you can declare that, you know, you have sole responsibility for her, and you can prove as well, you need to prove to the embassy that there's nobody else that can take care of her in Nigeria. Yes, she can be your dependent. There's something that happens here in the UK. It's like if there's siblings and they lose their parents, an older sibling can actually, it's not called adoption, but in the sense of you are given the full responsibilities as the parent of that child, like you're their guardian. I'm not sure if there's a similar thing in Nigeria where you can declare that you are the sole guardian for this child. If there's something like that, I think I would actually take legal advice on that. You know, it's not one I would say, yes, do this. But if you can prove that to the embassy, that's the only way to prove you are her sole sort of person to take care of her. Because they would wonder, okay, are there any other family members? Because it's a sister, it's not your child. So, you know, they would expect an auntie to do that. And an auntie can decide to be the guardian and claim for them. But, you know, that's something you can definitely explore. It's not impossible. It happens here all the time. Parents lose their children. An older sibling has to step up and take parental responsibility. So it's something that could possibly work, yes. Okay. So just go back to Instagram quickly. And we've got Rita has Ife Empire. Sorry if I'm not saying that correctly. My son is 4. He is still going to join them in the nursery school. So you're asking if your son of 4 years old has to go to nursery. He might have to go to 1 year of nursery and then start primary when he becomes 5. It depends on when his birthday is in relation to September, because you know the school year, everything starts in September. So if he's 4 now, will he be 5 in September? Because then he could just go straight into primary school. So it depends on when you were born in the year as well, in terms of, yeah. So Anita, you've come back again. What of Manchester and Bolton accommodations? Well, I don't know if I answered you earlier, but we do help in Manchester and Bolton. You need to give me a bit more context. Do you need a 2-bedroom? Are you asking for prices? Are you asking whether we can help you there? I don't know what you're asking. You're just saying what of Manchester and Bolton. So it's quite a tough one to answer. I do apologize. Give me a bit more context. You've said that about 3 times. What of Manchester and Bolton? I don't understand the context. What do you need of Manchester and Bolton? Is it a 2-bedroom? Do you need the price? What are you asking? Are you just asking, can we help? Yes, we can help, if that's what you mean. We've got Ibi Ronke. Sorry, I think you spelled that phonetically. Ibi Ronke. Do you have accommodations in Cheltenham? We very rarely have accommodations anywhere. like the accommodations we advertise on our page, most of them go in 2 or 3 days. So we don't have enough supply to meet up with the demand. What we do is we search for people. So we actually search for you. We help secure for people because we have a bit more knowledge about how to get properties. Because we have people that are here for 2-3 months and they can't get it by themselves. I get people messaging me from Nigeria all the time. I say this on all my shows. You know, people will message me 2 months before they come. We'll tell them the process, how much it costs, and they say, it's too much, it's too expensive. I will do it when I get there by myself. Then they come to us after they've been paying Airbnb for 1 or 2 months, and they still can't get it because you know, you don't know the tax of, like I said a bit earlier this evening, bidding up. People don't know that, so you don't know you should be bidding up. Other little things as well. So we help people search. We provide other things. You might go to an estate agent now and you found the house you like and they say, oh, you need a guarantor, you need work references, you need this, you need 3 months pay slip. So all those other things that they throw at you, we can help with that. So that's our specialty, is helping you secure properties. So, you know, we won't normally have properties in every part of the UK available to say, we are not an estate agent. I think people get this wrong a lot. We are not estate agents. We are the step in between the estate agent and yourself. We help you secure properties. We help with the requirements. We help you package your bid. That's what we do. So if that helps with the understanding of what we do, I hope, you know, that understands. So, Chocolatoria. Can one get an apartment, pay on arrival, and move in immediately? It's very unlikely. I'll be honest with you. That's the dream for everybody. Like, okay, get it before I come. As soon as I come, I pay the money in cash, move in. First of all, they don't accept cash, so you can't pay on arrival. You know, that's going to be a very difficult one for you. You need to be here for a few days, open an account. They will need your account for your direct debits for your payment as well. So there's other steps to it. If you're coming to England, you need your right to rent. So I do advise people, go on my page on YouTube. All of these, we've made videos about explaining this process in detail to you. But we'll explain it now while you're here anyway, if this helps anyone else. If you are in England, you need your right to rent completed before you can rent. And you cannot get that right to rent till you have your biometric card, which you get when you come here. So it's when you come here, you get your biometric card, then you fill out your right to rent on the government website. Just type right to rent in Google. It will give you the website. You have to complete it. And it's the code you get from that right to rent. That's what you're going to give estate agents. So without you being here to get the biometric card, to get the right to rent, we can't get the house for you. Only in places like Cardiff and some special areas we can help against September, but not everywhere. So I don't give that information out a lot. Okay. So, Margaret Ajim, I'm just back on YouTube. You've said yes. So I assume that's in relation to your earlier question about listing your relative as a dependent. If you can get, so if you're registered as her sole guardian, yes, you can apply for a visa with her. I'm pretty sure they will not see any problem with that. Okay, so we've got Abiodun again. You've come back with another question. Is the type of apartment size a criteria for children to get into school? Do schools come and do inspection of the house? So no, the schools don't come and inspect your house. This is a very important topic you brought up. And I'm sure I've mentioned in other shows I've done that don't cramp your children in a small house because they may ask them in school. I don't know if you've been with us before or you are referring to that. What happens is if, you know, children talk a lot and, you know, they might be talking in school, that sort of thing, and then they reveal that there's 5 of them in one room. Then if it does go to a teacher, what they will do is inform social services. Now, it's social services that can visit your house, not the school. So if the school is worried that there's certain things where your teacher or the school can inform social services. If your children come to school and they look hungry, or they cannot concentrate on this thing, they're like, oh, I'm hungry. Every day your child is constantly saying, I'm hungry, I'm hungry. The teacher will the teachers are trained to notice certain traits in children. So if your child is always saying they're hungry, if your child comes to school and there's a bruise on their body, maybe they are changing for sports, and then the teacher sees a mark and say, oh, did your mommy beat you? Did your daddy beat you? They will ask these little questions. Then what happens is they report you to social services. It's social services that will come and knock your door, not the school, not the teacher. So if you are worried about overcrowding, this is something we've done on a different show. And I'll just go over it very briefly again. Children under 10, the same gender can share a room. So if they are boys or girls, they can, one or two, they can be in a room. That's under 10. After 10 years old, girls need to have their own room, boys need to have their own room. So you can have 12-year-old boy, 10-year-old boy in a room, or 10-year-old boy, 5-year-old boy, you can have them in one room. But once one is over 10, you can't mix genders. It's not a law, it's not compulsory, but it's advice. That's what is guidance. That's where they think you should be. Sometimes people cannot meet up with these conditions because you may need a smaller home for a short period. There might be a year where you are saving up money to buy your own house or something. So you can get away with some things for a short amount of time. Don't think you would do it for 5 years or 10 years, because surely something will happen in that period. So I don't know if that answers your question. I'll go over again. Is the type of apartment size a criteria for children to get into school? It's not. They don't inspect your house. But like I said, if there's anything concerning to a teacher, if a teacher thinks, oh, the child looks hungry, the child looks not paying attention, they would sit down with this child, speak a bit more, try and find out what's happening at home. And that's where social services gets involved. Okay, so thank you for that question. A very, very good one to enlighten people a bit on these aspects. One thing you shouldn't do in the UK, don't leave underage children in a house alone. This is something I've experienced with a client recently, where she has a young child and was being left in the house, Airbnb, to go to school. Now, I know a lot of you may be coming as single parents where you are coming with a child on your own. Please make sure you have family members around. You have someone that can help you with childcare. You cannot lock up a child in this country and go away for hours and hours. If something goes wrong, social services will step in, and that's you going along the routes of them saying, are you fit to be a parent? Are you fit to have this child? Because you know how children play. And you have to remember they are coming to a different country. Everything is not like Nigeria. There's certain things they may not be able to operate. The windows are different. The way doors lock are different. So many things can, hot water constantly, playing with cookers and gas, all this sort of thing. So it's never advisable to leave children alone. I know we have some who cannot help it. You're coming alone. Maybe you're not coming with your partner yet. He's coming in 2 years or so, some months later, that sort of thing. Please, I beg your pardon, don't leave children alone in this country. If it's found out by the school, they will not look on it very favorably. Okay, so we've got Lillian on YouTube. I am running a bit behind with the questions. Apologies, I will get to everyone's question. I do go off on tangents, but I like to enlighten you when these different little topics pop up, because it's good we learn from these things as much as we can. Okay, so Lillian, my child will be 5 in December. Does that mean she has to wait till next September to join primary school? No. Any age you come in with any child, go to the nearest school to you and try and register them. Don't wait. It's just easier when, like I said, if they are younger and you don't have to wait 1 year. And honestly, you cannot, in the UK, you can't wait from December all the way to next September to register a child. It's seen as truancy. Education is compulsory for children in the UK. Even if you don't see a school place, you can homeschool your children so they can take lessons online, that sort of thing, in agreement with the council. But the council has to know that your child is in one form of education or the other. So when they come is when they come. Don't worry too much about ages, and if you can get them into school, just register them with the nearest school. Sometimes they might be starting lower than the stage they should be. Your school, maybe if it was in Nigeria, it's supposed to be going into JS1, but he has to repeat primary 5 sort of thing. don't worry, just do it. But they do have to go to school. They can't just stay at home for 6 months or 8 months. No. You can have them at home for 2 or 3 months while you are searching for a house, while you are settling down. That is understandable. As soon as you have a permanent address, your children have to be registered in school. Okay. So I hope that helps, Lillian. We've got Anita on YouTube as well. Can I apply for schools for dependents from Nigeria if I have an idea of the catchment location I will be going to in England? Having an idea is not good enough. You need an address to say that is your house, and you will be asked for proof of address. So like a utility bill, tenancy agreement. So just knowing the area, you can't start applying for schools from Nigeria. You have to be here first. You have to secure your house first. Then you do the school. So it's step by step. I know you're quite eager to get in, but they will ask for proof. You will need to meet with the school. You can't just register a school or a child online. You will have to go in for open day or a discussion. They will assess the child's ability. There's all these other steps to it. So it's not really something you can do from Nigeria. Okay, Anita, I hope that helps. Abiodun, you've come back with another question. How does one price up a property that has been viewed, but you are only waiting for the response, knowing that many people have viewed the same property? Okay, you can always call up the agent and change your offer. If you offered 800 and you thought it was 800 before, and what I'm telling you is making sense, and you want to pay 50, call them up tomorrow, Monday, say, okay, I've increased my bid. Please, can I offer 850 now? I'm really interested in this house. I really like it. It's in the catchment area for the school I want for my children. Tell them, you know, you're very responsible. You've gotten a job. You'll be able to afford the rent. All this sort of sweet talk. That's what we do on your behalf. So, yeah, definitely you can do that. So I'll pop over to Instagram just quickly. So we did Chocolateria. Yes. Ori Mary 93. Hi, Ma. That's my old customer. How's your new home? Hope it's all good. Anita, I mean, is there accommodation in Manchester and Bolton? There is, definitely. We've got a few in Bolton. And if you wanted to search specifically, you can engage our service for that. Funlola Fa, how busy is Bedford? Does it have much of a Nigerian community? Bedford, I'd say not a big Nigerian community, but there are Nigerians moving there. There's almost every area you can think of now, there's Nigerians moving to be honest. It's not like before where there's some areas that are just, you know, for certain ethnicities. But yeah, Bedford is a smaller town. Let's just have a quick look for you. It is a smaller town, definitely. So just 1 second. Okay. Yes. So I'm just trying to see the larger towns around there. It's the biggest town in that area. So, you know, it is still quite remote. It's still not one of those areas that a lot of people are heading to. It's not far from London. So that's one good thing. You know, it's not far from Luton. It's about 1 or 2 hours from Luton. Luton, there's such a big Nigerian community there. So it's not terribly far from everything, but it's not the one. I think the nearest areas you would be able to get to there are Cambridge, Milton Keynes is quite close. Milton Keynes has, and Milton Keynes is not too far from London as well. So it's not a terrible place to be going to be honest, but it's not people's first choice, if I can put it like that. Okay, Rita has Ife Empire. He will be 5 next February. Okay, I think that's in relation to a different question. I hope I've answered your question anyway, but if he's 5 in February, yes, he will be going to primary school. So he will be starting the first year of primary school, which is called reception. So, yeah. Okay, so just a few more on Instagram. Temi Okunson Properties, a fellow realtor. Please, when you secure this property, do you go for inspection to check the house is okay? So if you're referring to us, we usually work with people who are already on ground. You do the viewings yourself. We just book in viewings for you. We secure the property from the agent for you. That's what we do. So we don't go and view ourselves because obviously Some people are looking in Cardiff, in Wales, some are in Scotland. So we cannot have a physical presence for every property. If it's in London, we could probably swing it. But in certain other areas, it will be you inspecting it yourself. Now, another reason why that happens is the estate agents or the landlord, they are not happy with us to view it on your behalf and take it on your behalf most of the time. Number one, they want to meet you. They want to know the person that will be living there. So they want to speak to you as well. That's one thing. Number two, we've had situations, I've relayed this in many weeks, where we had people that we got a property for them without them viewing it and without them seeing the local amenities. And when they come, they don't want it. And they've signed a 12-month contract. So laws and contracts in UK are very strict. Once you have signed, you have signed. You cannot now wake up tomorrow and say, I don't want the property again, because they have rejected so many other people to give you this property. So they want to make sure you are 100% happy with it, that you see it with your own eyes. So I know when we're coming from Nigeria, our priority for a lot of people, I can tell you honestly, we get more than 40, 50 messages a day. People saying, oh, just rent it for me. However it is, when I come, I will take it like that. No, it doesn't work like that here. They want to see you. They want to meet you. They want to know you are happy with what you are paying for, because nobody wants to do this whole rigmarole over again. So Temi Okunsan, I hope that helps. Hanita, you've come back. I mean, can I get £450 rent in Manchester and Bolton? Still not good enough. I'm sorry. I keep telling you to add more to this question. I think it will be easier if you message me. Then we will send you a questionnaire, because I need to know the size of property. For 450, are you talking of a room in somebody else's house for a single person? Are you talking of a studio flat? Are you talking of 2-bedroom? The amount alone doesn't really help. For 450 in Bolton, you can probably get a tiny studio flat. In Manchester, 450 won't get you anything. It will get you a room in a shared house. So if you are coming by yourself and you want to share a house with people, 450 maybe in some areas of Manchester, some areas, not everywhere. It's a very low amount. I would advise you to increase that budget. Team F, please, I'd love to talk to you in the DM after live is about COS. Okay, that's fine. Ade Crown, can my 3-year-old boy start nursery, and how many hours will the child be entitled to? There's usually about 20 hours of nursery education. Yeah, usually about 20 hours. But you can definitely start nursery. So nursery is between 2 to 4. So yeah, definitely you can start nursery. I am Olori Babe. Hi, good evening. Thanks for joining again. You were here the other week. Funlolafa, how busy is Bedford? Is there much of a Nigerian community there? I wouldn't say there's a big Nigerian community, and it's not a very big, busy town. It's not very busy. So the town center might be a bit busy, but not everywhere. And then you've come back with a follow-up. How much is a 1-bedroom in Bedford? So we'll have a quick gander for you. Okay. So you're looking at anything from 750 to 950, 1,000. Yeah. So yeah, there's some coming up for 850, 950, up to £1,000. It's a wide variety. So I guess it depends on the part of Bedford you're going to. Beg your pardon. But the cheapest one you can probably get is about 650, 750, yeah. And all the way up to 1,000. It's a real range. I think if you have a postcode, we can narrow it down, because it's covering a very wide area. And it's quite a rural area, but it seems quite expensive as well. Okay, so we'll take a few more from YouTube. So the last one we had was Abiodun. I hope that answered your question. We've got Nonso Peters. Hello, good evening. Thanks for being here again. I am working, though I just started working. Is it possible to pay a security deposit in installments? Because I'm having a serious challenge with accommodation and on the verge of being thrown out in the street. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. unfortunately, most landlords want a security deposit at the start. I don't think they will let you pay in installments. So it's sort of what you pay all in one and a one bedroom. Yes, I don't think they will let you pay that in installments, unfortunately. Unless you get a very good maybe a Nigerian landlord that is understanding. If you go to a normal estate agent, they say no, they won't allow that, because the security deposit essentially is there in case you break something. Now, you can be very careful, never break anything, never stain the wall or scratch anything, or, don't cause any damage. But they don't know if you can cause damage one day after moving in. There's people that move in, the next day, they put their foot through the wall, or they have children running around and the child takes a marker and runs on the wall. So this is the reason why they ask for a security deposit, is to protect themselves. Also, another point of the security deposit is for your notice period. So if you sign a 12-month contract and then you stay there for 5 or 6 months and you decide, I don't like this house anymore, you have to give your landlord 1 or 2 months notice. It's normally in your contract. So the landlord would have specified what the break clause is. It could be 1 month break clause or 2 month break clause. And you have to give them that notice and say, I'm going. You can't just wake up tomorrow and pack your bag and say, I'm going. If you do that, you lose your deposit. So that's why they take the deposit, to protect themselves. So if you just decide tomorrow, oh, I'm going, that means you lose your deposit. The landlord will say, okay, I'm still covered. I have 1 month to find another tenant. So it's for both protection, yourself and theirs. So I'm really sorry to hear that. You came on here a few weeks ago, and I think you were asking for accommodation in Reading, if I remember correctly. I'm not too sure. You said Reading or somewhere. But yeah, they won't take installments. Maybe look at taking a smaller space for now. If you wanted a 1-bedroom, look at a house share. Go on Telegram groups. You might get people that might still allow families in a room. I've seen many clients that are just managing for now, because it's really tough out there. A lot of people are struggling. So I'm sorry you are in that position, but I hope it gets better. Okay, so Abiodun, you've come back with another question. Do you help provide all the needed services in securing a property? Also, who actually determines who gets a property, landlord or agent? So the landlord has the final say. The agents can get 10 different bids, or, they might let 15 or 10 people view the property. Out of the 15 or 10, some will not meet the requirements because there's referencing. Referencing has 4 parts: credit check, affordability check, past landlord, your past address history. What else do they check? Sorry, it will come to me in a second, but there's 4 parts you have to pass. Now, if you don't pass those 4 parts, you don't have a guarantor, you don't have the required income to rent, or you have anything negative on your credit history or with a previous landlord, you fail instantly. So the estate agent will whittle those 10 bids down to about 4 or 5, and it's those last 4 or 5 that go to the landlord. And then the landlord will look at each one and say, okay, I like the look of this more than that. So it's a combination of both. The estate agents have a role to play to narrow the number down, but the landlord makes the final decision. Also, the first part of your question, you said, do you help provide all the needed services in securing a property? Yes, we do. So most of the things they will ask you for, we can either help you provide that, or we can tell you a walk around, how you walk around it. Because sometimes you've just started work, you don't have 3 months pay slip. So we know how to explain that and those sort of things. So I'm just going to come back to Instagram quickly. We did cost of 1 bedroom for Funlala Farah. Cute Pinky 033. Is it possible for me to cope with 3 kids as a single parent coming 9, 6, and 2? You will struggle. You will struggle, because if you are a single parent coming, how do you work with these small children? And this is something I was talking about earlier in the show. A lot of people are choosing to come with children. There's 2 ways to come. It's either all of you come or one person comes, mom or dad. If you come and you leave your partner behind and you come alone, it's going to be very, very tough. There's so many things you're going to struggle with, because childcare is a real big deal over here. It's a real big deal because of the laws and restrictions. You can't leave children that are 9, 6, and 2 alone in a house. If something happened to the 2-year-old, they would believe the 9-year-old is not old enough to deal with emergencies. So, you have to be tied to the 3 of them. So where do you find time to go to school if you're a student? Where do you find time to go to work if you're a skilled worker? My advice is, if you haven't come yet, leave the children for your partner, or, get a family member in Nigeria to stay with the children for some months before everybody else comes over. But coming over by yourself with a lot of children, you're sabotaging yourself from the start. It's going to be really tough. It's going to be really tough. Like this parent I was talking about, they were trying to take their child to university lecture with them, all these other things, and they will not accept it. It's not like Nigeria that they just overlook things. They will not accept certain things. You can't bring your child to university, and you can't leave your child in the house alone. If you manage to get a property and, you have to walk to a certain time, or you have to go to school to a certain time, if you are late to pick up your child from school, they will give you a fine. So everywhere things are biting at you. I wouldn't advise it, honestly. I wouldn't advise it. I hope you are still there, Cute Pinky, because that's a really important one. And I've been advising a lot of people against that quite recently. So please, if you haven't done it yet, get your partner to take care of the children while it's still in Nigeria, and you come alone, or your partner comes alone first and starts the process of finding a house and settling in, It's either the whole family comes together and struggles together, which I don't advise, or one person comes. The student or the skilled worker comes first and sorts out all these other things, and then everybody else comes. I've been telling people this a lot recently. Migration to the UK and other countries, it's been happening for decades. My dad came here just after the independence of Nigeria. Before the independence, he was a colonial policeman in 1958 or something. So people have been coming here for a long time. But one parent comes, you work for some time, you build something up, and then you get the rest over. It could be some few months later, it can be whatever. But these are why people are getting into difficult positions now, because it's poor decision making. Here is not like Nigeria. They won't pity you. They won't help you out. So you'll have to pay someone, unless you have a Nigerian relative here that can take care of the children. You will be in a very, very tough position. And that relative also has to work. They can't leave their work now and go and pick up your children, unless they are a mother as well. So it's not advisable, honestly. And I hope a lot of people listen to that point there. Please don't come as a single mother with one or a couple of children. You will find it difficult. Funlolafa, okay, so you say compare Milton Keynes to Bedford. Milton Keynes is bigger, more Nigerians, more jobs opportunities, more school opportunities. Bedford is more rural. Rural area compared, it's more countryside, sort of calmer, everything. The main town will be busy, but honestly, I think Milton Keynes is a better choice if you are offered the option of both, or you have two on your plate. Definitely take Milton Keynes. It will honestly be way better transportation links if you need to come to London, that sort of thing. Milton Keynes is a winner on that too, in that comparison. But if you want a bigger house, a more relaxed pace of life, Bedford is better. So, everybody's looking for something else. I might be talking as someone who wants to be in the city, in the life. Some people want a quiet, calm. Beg your pardon, people. Okay. So this show is only scheduled for 1 hour on a Sunday evening, but we do tend to overrun. So I like to answer your questions. But yeah, getting dry mouth now. Okay, Cute Pinky, you're back with another one. For a 3-bedroom house in Birmingham, how much should I be looking at? Okay, so we'll have a quick look at that for you. Birmingham is a mixed bag because it's quite a big city. So it depends on what part you fall into, but we'll give you an average and then you can have figures to work with. So 3-bedroom. So you anywhere between, I'd say 1,100. There's a few for 900, 1,000, but they'll be very far outside. And Plus, I've said this all the time. The lowest price you see doesn't mean you'll get it. You might have to bid a bit more. Everybody is going for that one. So there's usually issues with that one. Average will be 1,000, about 1,000 to 1,3. That's what you want to budget to get a decent place. If you can't afford that, you can still get a few for about 950. Cute pinky. So I hope that helps. So scroll down. Robinson 080283. Please give me the price range of a 2-bedroom in Manchester and Salford. It's kind of similar to what I've just given, but let's check that for you. Manchester is a bit more expensive than Birmingham. So for 2 bedrooms, you'll be looking at 1,000 to 1,003, 1,004 in Manchester. From about 1,000 anyway. The cheapest you get will be about 1,000. So that's for Robinson. I hope that helps. Where did we stop? I'll take a few more on YouTube. So we've got Abiodun again. And you said, if I've not started work, but I have my money to pay, will I be able to get the house still? Now, we've done this on the channel before. You would need between 3 to 6 months of advance rent if you're not yet working. You would need a UK guarantor as well, somebody who is either a property owner or the person earns 3 times of the rent. So if the rent is 1,000 a month, your guarantor has to be earning 3,000 a month. And that will translate to 36,000 a year. If the rent is 1,500, so on and so forth, your guarantor has to be earning 4,500 a month and work that out across the year. So it's possible. It's very difficult. Honestly, it's very, very difficult without a job. When that process I was telling you about, the estate agent looking at the different applications, as soon as you say no job, most likely you are off the list. So very few agents will work with you in that condition. And I've said this before, if you do come and you are in temporary accommodation for 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, start looking for a job at the same time. Don't put your whole focus that, I want to get a house to settle down. Once I settle down, I'll look for the job. Be doing both. We have the last week show that we spoke a lot about jobs. And 2 weeks ago, if you're on YouTube, go on the channel. You can watch back. We give a lot of help with jobs as well. If you want to consult with us, we do job consultations. We can talk to you and give you options. So we've got Anita next on YouTube. How much is a 2-bedroom in Battersea, Southwest London? This house without burglar proof, are they safe at night? It's only in Nigeria that people cage themselves in the house, so they don't cage themselves here. Honestly, they are very, very safe. In London, as the way London is now, you are very likely to be in a flat, maybe on the 4th or 5th floor. So no one is coming to burgle you. Also, most houses have alarms. It's the last of your worries. Honestly, burglary is not a big concern here. Honestly, it's not. And even if you had a house like a terrace house or a house with your front door, places are much more safe than Nigeria. You'll be paying insurance payments anyway, which are like 10, 20 pounds a month, and you can insure everything. Even if they did burgle you, everything will be replaced by the insurance company. So it's not a big concern. It doesn't happen quite a lot. Battersea is one of the most exclusive parts of London. It's only 10 minutes down the road. I live in Vauxhall, so our location is Vauxhall in London. It's literally just 10 minutes down the road. It's a very expensive, rich area. The last thing you should be thinking about is that. I think the first thing to start with is your first part of the question: how much is a 2-bedroom in Battersea? And I think the price is, if your work is in Battersea, I would honestly not advise you to live in Battersea. Like I said, it's a very exclusive, rich part of London. You know, it's highly in demand. So the first part will be affordability. So 2-bedroom house you want. Okay, so let's have a look for you. Battersea is actually where the new American embassy is. It's brand new. It's just been built. There's a building in Battersea where there's 2 buildings, skyscrapers, and there's a swimming pool hanging in the middle. If you want to see that, you can Google that. It's exclusive. It's the first time it's been done in the world. In between two buildings, there's a swimming pool there. So I'm just telling you how exclusive Battersea is. So the last thing you should be worried about is armed robbers or burglary, like, honestly. So Battersea 2-bedroom flats, I can see some for 3,900 a month. We're talking of about £1,000 a week, Anita. That's about the cheapest you could get. There's some for 2,500. A few for 2,500. Most are in the 3,000, 4,000 range. So Battersea, like I said, is a very, very exclusive part of London right now. Unless you're, rolling in the cash. I don't know your wallet, but it's very exclusive. So there's cheaper places to live in London, honestly. It feels like you're just throwing money away because people competing to live there are Americans, Chinese, Russian oil magnates. These are the people that live in Battersea. It's very exclusive. So I hope that answers you, Anita. Don't worry about burglary proof. You won't see any burglary proof in the UK. Leave that one behind for Nigeria. So we've got Daniel Gift on YouTube. Can a family of 3 come together? It can't be too bad. Like the father, mother, and a year-old daughter. It's not too bad, The thing is now, why we advise one person to come is if you're having difficulty finding a flat, as you have come by 3 now, you have to stay in Airbnb. You don't have much options, and Airbnb is very expensive. A week, you can be spending up to 500, something in that range, depending on what part of the UK you are going to. If it's one person now, you can rent a room somewhere. That renting of a room can be 700 a month. You understand? So that gives 1 or 2 months to try and look for the actual flat. It's not bad. People are doing it. I'm just saying, if you want to come in a less stressful way, if you want to open yourself up to the stress, I mean, everyone is different. We all have different thresholds for stress. Some people can take it. But when people are in these difficult positions, that's when they start thinking, I wish me as the man was facing this alone, bringing my wife. Airbnb now, okay, look at a typical example of what happens. People will say, oh, I will get a house in 2 weeks. You book Airbnb for 2 weeks. You don't get the house. Airbnb as well is in high demand here. The day after your home finish, somebody might book immediately after you. So you will even be willing to pay for more. They cannot book you more because somebody has booked for 1 week after you. Now you start looking for another Airbnb. The next Airbnb you find is 5 miles. You start packing your load again. Like some people have done that 3-4 times since they've come, packed to 4 different places. It gets to the point where doing it with a child and a wife or 3 children, honestly, it's not the best idea. So we just give you advice. At the end of the day, it's still down to you how you choose to do your travel plans, but we will always tell you the best way to go about it. So Daniel, you have another question there. Between Manchester and Birmingham, which is more better and cheaper to stay in? They are similar sized cities. They have almost the same facilities. I think Manchester is just slightly ahead in terms of, if we say better, but not really that much. They are the second and third after London in terms of size. So after London, then you have Birmingham, then Manchester. So they are the next 2 big cities in the UK, in England especially. So there's not a lot of difference. Manchester is more to the north. Birmingham is slightly closer to the south. Not south, but Midlands. It's called Midlands. So it's sort of in the middle, while Manchester is a bit more northern. They're similar cities. Honestly, there's not a lot of difference between the two. Birmingham, I would say, is still slightly cheaper. Manchester maybe is leading a bit. Just, if I'm rating them, it will be 7 and 8. It's very close. There's not a lot of difference between the two. Okay, so yeah, in terms of cheap, I'd say Birmingham. Yeah. All right, so we've got Abiodun on YouTube again. For a 2 to 3 bedroom in Manchester, how much should I be looking at? Did we answer that a bit earlier? A 2 to 3 bedroom, I would say anywhere from £1,000 to about 1,400. So I hope that helps. Between 1,000 to 1,400, Abiodun. Okay, so we'll come to Instagram just for a little bit. I think we've done Robinson. And Funolafa, would a single mom of a 12-year-old pay council tax? Yes. So council tax is dependent on the adults. Children don't count towards council tax. Anybody under 18 is free. The adults are what are important. So if the adult is a student, then you don't pay council tax. If the adult is a worker, then you pay council tax. So it's only above 18 that matters for council tax. From Lolafa, I hope that helps. And you've followed it up as well. Single mom on a student visa living with a 12-year-old. So yes, you don't pay no council tax. That's perfect for you. You won't be paying any council tax at all. Okay, so made for you stitches 001. Thank you for joining. First time I've seen you here. Can a single mom come in with a 3-year-old child, although the dad will come with us and stay for the first 3 months and then go back to Nigeria? Yes, that's fine to do. I mean, people don't get hung up on what I said earlier. However you want to do it, it's hard to get accommodation now. So try and do it in the most easiest way for you. But you can definitely come with the dad. Is coming for the first 3 months. A friend of mine did that, a childhood friend recently, came with his wife, made sure they were settled down. He stayed 2 months and then he went back to Nigeria. So it's fine to do, definitely. But, it depends on where you are going, how hard the accommodation is in that area. This is why we're advising one parent comes first. It's normally makes it a bit easier for you guys. But if you can afford it, just pay Airbnb. Depending on the area, we'll advise you how many weeks it will take you to get. Make sure you have temporary accommodation booked for that period. You can make it as easy as you want. It's usually people don't want to spend a lot of money and then you want everything. It's not going to work, So, yeah, everyone is different. Okay, Rita's has Ife Empire. That's a hard name to say, Is it okay coming in with my 4-year-old as a single mom? It is okay. It's just, are you a student? Will you have to leave this child at home? Like we just had a question about a 12-year-old with a single mom student. Now, 12-year-old is fine to be left in the house alone because they're a bit older. They're not going to make a mistake with a knife and cut themselves or do something. 12-year-old is coming to teenager, so they're almost okay to stay on their own. But with a 4-year-old, if you are coming as a single mom, it's the question I asked before. When you go to university, who will take care of your child? If you have a care job and you're coming as a skilled worker, when you go to work, who will take care of your 4-year-old? You can't lock them in the house and go by yourself. You need someone you need adult supervision. So if you're coming to an area where you have family near there, somebody that can help you, or a Nigerian community, because what happens is if you are in a city with lots of Nigerians, you will find people that are visiting. Maybe they're only coming for 3 months. So they will, do little childcare for people. You will find people that are single mothers that are at home. They will advertise, they're doing child minding, that kind of thing. So you can pay them like £10 for the whole day, leave your child there. There's options. But if you are going to a place where there's no Nigerians living there, this is where it gets a bit difficult. Okay, so Rita, I hope that helps. V23 shots. What can you say about Hull? I can say it's very tough about accommodation there right now. Hull is one of the places we're advising people who are starting in September to start getting their accommodation now. So that's what I can say about Hull. If you have a specific question about Hull, because there's no context to that, so I don't know what you mean when you say, what do you say about Hull? But if you just want my thoughts on Hull, those would be my thoughts. It's hard for accommodation now. Hanita, what can you say about Manchester? Availability. Manchester, there's a lot of properties there. It's a bit easier to get, not easy, but, it's not as bad as some areas. And you've come back again. What can I say about Manchester in general? I think I compared Manchester and Birmingham for someone. So it's the second or third largest city in the UK. It's a very good place to be going to. There's a lot of support networks there you can tap into, that sort of thing. So you should be fine if you are going to Manchester. I'm aware a lot of people are going there for skill work. So You should be okay. It's not too remote. It's not anywhere that you'll be doing anything. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to go back on YouTube for a bit. Lord Billa, hello, good evening. I think you were here last week. Do you do airport pickup? Yes, we do. So we organize pickup from any airports in the UK. Send us some details in the DMs on Instagram and we can tell you prices. We're going to need your flight dates, the flight number, time of arrival, and where you are going to. Also, how many people are you coming with? Are you coming with any children? Because one thing here, children under 4, they need a car seat in a car. So if you're coming with children and we're doing airport pickup with you, we need to know any infants, any babies. They have to have a special seat. They're not allowed to just sit down in the car like that. So we will ask you a few questions anyway, but we definitely do airport pickup. That's one of our big services we do. Okay, so Daniel, you've come back with another follow-up on YouTube. Please, if I'm coming with my hubby and daughter by August and I have a friend there in the UK, beg your pardon, can he or she come help me get a place through you so as we land, we have a place and somewhere to settle? Okay, so yes, it is possible for your friend to do viewings for you. We can book in viewings, your friend turns up as you. The problem you're going to have is your biometric card and getting your right to rent. This house still needs to be rented in your name. The tenancy agreement still has to read your name because he can't read your friend's name. He already has his own. So that's where the problem will be. Maybe a week before you come, your friend can start doing viewings on your behalf. And then as soon as you come, you get your biometric, you get all your documentation, and then pick it up from there. So it is a possibility. It will be quite tricky to do it all, but it's possible. But we still need you here for your right to rent if you're coming to England. So you need your biometric for that. It's only people going to Cardiff and Scotland that don't need right to rent. I hope that helps. Lord Billa, can someone get accommodation within 1 week of arrival? Very unlikely. Very, very unlikely. I tell people plan for at least 2 to 3 weeks of temporary accommodation. In the areas we have identified as high pressure, 4 to 6 weeks. Plan for temporary accommodation. I know people want to save money. Let's just be realistic with you. There's no need you come and discover it by yourself and it's a situation you don't like. So you're not going to get a house in 1 week of coming to the UK. It's not possible. Because you have to view, you have to get your biometric. It has to go through referencing. Referencing takes 2 to 5 days on its own. So even after finding the place, before the landlord will decide who he wants to take, and the agent checks, it's not going to happen anywhere less than 2 to 3 weeks. So make sure you are well prepared. You've come up with a follow-up. Can you get accommodation 1 week of arrival in London? London, give yourself 1 month of temporary accommodation. London is high pressure as well. Nothing, you're not going to get anything less than 1 month. So if you're coming to London, make sure you prepare for Airbnb for a minimum of 1 month. Please, please, please. People, I say this all the time, they ignore what we say. You're going to find yourself in a fix. You're not going to get a place in London in less than a month. 3 weeks if you are lucky. If you're really lucky, it might be 3 weeks, but nothing less than that. It's high pressure. Taiwo Juliet on YouTube, thank you for staying with the broadcast. Coming in as a skilled worker, I will be coming with my family at first, my husband, my 3-year-old son, and you. But my husband will be going back to Nigeria 3 months after. Will it be easy for me to cope? Husband, 3-year-old, and yourself. I think you sent this just a few minutes ago. It's the same as I've told people already. You're going to struggle with a 3-year-old. If you are a skilled worker, how do you do your job with a 3-year-old? You can't take him to your job with you. So if you don't have someone to take care of your child, you're going to struggle. You're going to struggle. Like, I don't know how you cope. I can't give you the solution. I can only tell you the reality of what you are coming into. When you need to go to work, who's going to take care of a 3-year-old? You can't lock them into the house alone because he's 3. He can crawl around. He's able to move. He can go turn on the gas knob. He can open a window. Let's not even go down that road. Honestly, I don't want to sound very negative, but it's going to be tough. I don't know how you do it. You need a family member to help step in when you have to work. If you can't organize that, you'll be tired. You will have to start refusing jobs. You can't tie a baby on your back and go to work here. Okay. Abiodun, you've come back with another one. If I view the property that I like, can you help me provide the necessary requirements for a fee? Yes, that's what we do. Send me a DM on Instagram straight after this. We'll send you our price list, and then we can talk about what exactly you do need, what you can bypass, what we can help you with. Okay? That's our specialty. Anita. Oh, okay. So this is the response from Battersea. When you come, I would like to do a tour of Battersea with you. I took a friend around there just last night because I was telling him, oh my God, this place has changed so much. Look at what they have built here. Look at this and that. So honestly, Battersea is quite lovely, but it's really expensive. It's exclusive. We also rented the property out to a very rich couple there just over a week ago. The property is worth £1.5 million. So those are the kind of properties that are in Battersea. It's a lovely area, but it's very, very expensive. Okay, so I hope that helps, Anita. You say, are there other cheap places in Southwest? Now, if you're coming to Southwest London, I will tell you to explore Croydon. The closest part to Southeast London will be Norwood. Norwood is cheaper. So people that used to live in Battersea, Brixton, because the prices are going higher, they've been pushed outwards. So the area you can probably get into as a new arrival, I beg your pardon, will be Norwood. Norwood, Croydon, that sort of area will be quite good. And there's good buses that will bring you to Battersea in less than 30 minutes. So you don't need to live in Battersea, to be honest, if you have to walk there. Okay, so yes, on YouTube, we've got Okungoa Henry. Thanks for joining. You were here the other week as well. Please, is Middlesbrough okay to get a job and live in? It's a lovely place to live in. There's not a lot of jobs there. I've been telling people this for the last few weeks. Middlesbrough, the houses are cheap. You can get two bedroom for £500 a month. It's very cheap. There's no jobs. So this is what you have to balance out. Okay, so I will just step back on Instagram. Opsy Cole, please compare Bristol City and Salford, Manchester rent rate. Now, Bristol is much cheaper than Salford and Manchester. It's much cheaper. The only problem you're going to have with Bristol right now to Cardiff. So all the students that are not able to find housing in Cardiff, they are rushing to Bristol now. So it's getting a bit tight. There's more houses in Manchester, but Manchester will be slightly more expensive. So I hope that helps. Opposite side. Everywhere you look in the UK now, there's issues. There's nowhere that you can just say this is the perfect place to go. You used to have that before, but since people started coming last year, I think by now about 200,000 Nigerians have come in. So it's put a lot of pressure on the housing market. And remember, Indians are coming in, Chinese people are coming in, people are coming in from all parts of the world on student visa, skilled worker. So it's not just Nigerians. So there's no perfect part of the UK right now. You know, there will be pros and cons to everything you consider. It's just what works best for you. Where can you get a job? Job is priority. People focus too much on rent. You have to remember the people that are living in that area that are paying rent, they are paying rent because they have jobs there that pay the required thing. So when you come, you will join in with other people. You just need the job. So if you have an option for skilled worker job and they're saying take here or take here, so far you have a job, you should be all right. Just take something that comes with a job. If you are a student, don't go to a school where the rent is cheap, but you can't get work. That's Middlesbrough for you. That's the story of Middlesbrough. Everybody is running to Middlesbrough. School fees is cheap. House is cheap. There's no job. So it's like you get some advantages, but there's also some disadvantages. Cantone fashion. Will a family of 4 be allowed to live in a 2-bedroom flat? That is both parents and 2 kids. Yes. I hope you are still with us. Family of 4 can live in 2-bedroom flats. It depends on the gender and the age of the children. There's no hard and fast rule. It just depends on ages and gender. If any of your children is above 10, they cannot stay with the opposite gender. 11-year-old boy cannot stay with 5-year-old girl. If the two of them are boys, it doesn't matter their age. They can stay in the same room. If two of them are girls, doesn't matter their age. It's when you have different genders and one is above 10 years old. That's when it starts to matter. It's not impossible, but then it starts to get a bit more trickier. So we got food by tenner. How about 2-bedroom flats in Birmingham? What do you need to know? The price? I think I've done that this evening already, but you might have not been here. 2 bedrooms in Birmingham start from about 900. So I'd say aim for 900, 1,000, all the way up to 1,002. So food by 10. I hope that helps. Who have we got in here? Official Henry Moccasin. Please, is Middlesbrough okay to... Oh, so I think that's Henry Okungbuwa on YouTube. I think you are both channels. So I think I've answered that for you. Middlesbrough is really cheap to live. It's hard to find work. Poreski, hello, good evening. Thanks for joining. I think you were chatting to us earlier or yesterday. As a couple, do you pay council tax each or as a couple? I've explained this a few weeks ago. So if you want a detailed explanation, you can look at one of the old YouTubes. I put chapters on all of them so you can see what we've covered. But council tax is charged by the house and is charged by how many people over 18 live in there. It's a very hard one to explain. The local authority, which you call local government in Nigeria, they call them local authority here. They decide the price of council tax for each house. So the houses in the very expensive area, they will have higher council tax. The houses in the poorer areas where it's not as, not as good, those will have cheaper council tax. So the council tax depends on the area where the house is, the size of the house. 4-bedroom council tax is more expensive than 1-bedroom council tax. So they get bands. They're called bands. When you move in, when you sign your tenancy agreement, they will tell you the band for your house. Now, when you have the band, there's a fixed price for that band, what that band pays, what you are supposed to pay. As a couple, it doesn't matter that there's 2 of you. There can be 5 adults. The band is the same. You're still going to send that same price per month. The only difference is for students. Now, if one is a student, one is a worker out of the couple, you get 25% of the band rate. That's what you get of 20. If 2 are students or only 1 student, it's free council tax. So I hope that helps. If you need more details on that, please. So Olami, you are asking the same question as Poreski. So I hope that helps you as well. Every house has its own band. It has its price. It's based on the size of the house, the location of the house, how, I was talking about Battersea for somebody else. Houses in Battersea now, their band will be so high. Their council tax per year might be £5,000. Whereas houses in another part of London, council tax might be £1,500 for the year. So it depends on how influential the area is, the size of the house itself. Doesn't matter how many people are in there above 18. It only matters if one person is a student and one is a worker. So if you have a student in the house, you qualify for 25%. If it's only a student in the house, it's free council tax. If it's 2 students, it's free council tax. As soon as you have another person above 18 that is not a student, it's no more free. You have to pay council tax, but because there's a student as well, you get 25% discount. I hope that it's a very tricky one to explain, but I hope you guys understand that. So Opsy Cole, please, is Salford, Manchester okay to find job and live in? Yes, there's lots of jobs in Manchester. It's a lovely place to live in. I wouldn't worry about that. Compared to Bristol, yeah, there's more opportunities in Manchester than Bristol, definitely. Anita, which is more better, skilled worker visa or student visa? I would say skilled worker. Skilled worker, you can work full-time. You can work 40 hours or more. You are not restricted. School fees, you pay a lot of school fees for a student visa, and the student visa is a maximum of probably 2 years. Skilled worker, you can get up to 5 years. So the length of visa is better. The opportunities you can do within that period is better. Student visa, there's no guarantee at the end of it. Skilled worker is a route towards indefinite leave to remain. So I always tell people this all the time. A lot of people spend so much money on student visa. And I tell them, if you have the opportunity to do skilled worker, go for skilled worker. So I'm just going to take one quickly on YouTube. So we got Kayode Oguntimehi. Sorry, Kayode. If a family of 5 with 3 children, 2 girls who are 11 and 10, and a 6-year-old boy stay in a 2-bedroom flat, I would say no. You need 3 bedrooms at the minimum. Your 3 children with this combination cannot stay in one room. The 2 girls can have one room. The boy will have to have his own room because you have 2 children above 10 already. So you definitely need a 3-bedroom. No landlord will give you a 2-bedroom. No landlord will give you a 2-bedroom with those options. I hope that helps, Kayode. Okay, so let's see. That's the last one on YouTube. So if you have any more questions on YouTube, please send them across. We'll just go back quickly to Instagram. Sami TP, price range and how easy is it to get a studio apartment in Grays? Not very easy at the moment, I must confess, but it's still better than some areas. Grays it's not high demand, but you can get something. It's just not a lot of studios available, that's all. Let's see the average range. So I've checked, there's only 2 properties coming out. When we call those properties now, they may not even be available. So one is 850. So that's what you'll be looking at, about 850. But there's not a lot of options for studio in Grays because I had someone checking for there last week. So that's why I know there's not a lot. You could go for a 1-bedroom, anywhere up to 1,000. There's just some parts of the country where you will not find a lot of a kind of property. So there's areas where one or a few around. Everybody there used to have 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom. So the landlords is just not building studios. Okay. So Funlolafa, you say give an estimate of bills for a month. What and what adds up to £500? Okay, so it depends on the size of your house. I think just from what you said earlier, you're a student, so you won't be paying council tax. So that's about 150 off. I think you will pay electricity. I would budget about £40 a week. If it's for yourself and a 12-year-old, I'll say about £40 a week. So that will come out to 150, 160 a month. Gas, you want to budget a similar amount in the winter time. When it's cold and you need to make hot air, more. But we're coming up to warmer period now. From end of March, April, it gets warm. So in the summer months, you may only spend £50 or £60 a month on gas. In winter, you will spend 150, 160 for a 1-bedroom house or so 2-bedroom. TV license, 170 a year. That's not water, about 50, 60. So I think you'll be looking about 350. Definitely, because you're a student, about 350 a month, maybe not 500, about 350, somewhere thereabouts. Dotun off. Where is the cheapest place to live if you intend schooling in Salford University? Well, you see, the problem is you can go far away from Salford, Dotun. I beg your pardon. The problem you're going to have is transportation. So it's no use going to live 100 miles away to your school. You're going to be paying like £20 to go there and £20 to come back a day. By the time you spend that 3 times a week, multiply it over a month, the 200 that you are running away, maybe in Salford, you're supposed to be paying 900 and you go somewhere else to pay 600. That money you are saving, you end up spending it on transport. So you can't really be too far from the school, to be honest. I get a lot of students asking this, and unless you go to school only 1 day a week or 2 days a week, that's the only time I would advise you to live far from your school because of rent. Because if you have to, some people have to go 3-4 times a week. If you are living miles and miles away, you're going to pay a lot on transport. But let's see. For Dotun, you can live in Bolton. Bolton is not too far. It's about 30 minutes on the train. It's about £10 to go and come per day, £7 to £10. You can take a bus from Bolton to Manchester as well. If you've got 1 hour, 20 minutes to sit down on the bus, you can take a bus as well. It's not too far. You can look at areas like Wigan. It's a bit further away. You can look at Stockport is outside Manchester, but it's almost the same as Manchester prices, to be honest. Oldham, all of these places are really expensive. So running away from there, the surrounding areas of Manchester are also expensive, of Salford. So unless you go really far away, like Warrington, you're not going to save much. And what you do save, you will end up spending it on transport. I hope that helps. Okay, Funolafa, say something about after-school club in secondary schools. There are after-school clubs, you pay for them. So you sometimes you have to pay extra 20, £10. It's not free all the time. It depends on what clubs you decide to join or stay. So that's a good way to not need to be there to pick up your children if they've got clubs to join or pay. But I think some of them you do have to pay, so they don't just come as standard, and then you can choose which clubs to join. There's all different type of interest for children, some academic, like extra lessons, some like chess, games, sports, that sort of thing. You may have to pay a bit more for those. So I hope that helps. Please, I need a studio apartment for couples in Grays. Sami TP, I think I've answered that for you. There's not a lot available in Grays. Upside availability in job in Bristol. So have I answered that? I think I've answered that. The King Kong, please, can I apply for masters in UK with HND? Very unlikely. It depends on the university. You might have one or two universities that accept that. You are more likely to get a pre-masters. So you can do pre-masters where they give you 2 years visa. You do the first year of pre-masters and then you take your masters the second year, because you may not have the academic requirement to meet up with masters straight away from HND. So I don't think you will be able to do that one. Ochi, Evergreen, Claudia, Birmingham advantages. Birmingham, I mean, some parts of Birmingham are still cheap to live in, the outskirts. So there's that. Good opportunity for jobs. The bigger cities always have more opportunities for job. London, Manchester, Birmingham, there's always more opportunities. They're just by size. It's logic. The more people in an area, the more services that are needed, the more stuff that is going on. It's when people go into these smaller towns, there's not a lot of industry, there's not a lot of things to employ you. So I hope that helps. Q Arabella, what can a couple bills look like in a one-bedroom apartment in Bolton? If you are students, I'd say budgets around $350 a month. If you're not a student, maybe $450. So yeah, somewhere between 300 to 400. So yeah, that's what you'll be paying for bills. Cantoni Fashion, can you list out some areas that are high in demand for skilled workers? In high demand for skilled workers. Birmingham is one of them. There's a lot of people going to Birmingham. Luton is another one. Luton is just outside London. A lot of skilled workers going to Luton. And those are good areas to go because they're bigger cities. I can't give you a very long list, but those are two just off of the top of my head. So I hope that helps. Funlalafa, thanks for always very helpful. Thank you for joining. Thank you for your support. Really appreciate you being here. Oluwato saying, can I get a school that accepts Benin Republic degree certificates? I'm sure you will. The main thing you would be concerned about is getting your translation done. So you can look at ECCTIS for that. They will translate your result for you to the equivalent of what that should be in English, because Benin Republic, was that in English? Is that a French degree? I'm not too sure. Okay. The King Kong. Oh, will I still be able to move with my family with pre-masters? Yes, certainly. Anything that is above, undergraduate level, you will qualify for dependence visa. That's fine. I have a couple I've helped with a house, and he came on pre-masters as well. So I know for sure. But that was in London. So it depends on the university, really. Ochi Evergreen, thank you. Thanks for joining. I appreciate you. Anita, how many hours does dependent work? coming through skilled visa. Now, this depends on your employer. Some employers have a lot of work, some don't have as much work. So I've seen people on skilled visas, they come and they're only getting 20 or 30 hours a week, where they thought they would be working plenty of hours. So it differs. How many contracts does that employer have? Some care companies are really small and they're taking a lot of staff where they may not have the work for you. So just find out from your employer before you come. Make sure they can offer you 40 hours a week, which is the minimum to get the salary that is on your application. Okay, Cantoni Fashion, thank you so much. You've been helpful. How often do you do this live? I would love to always be a part of it. I'm here every Sunday evening, so I'm always happy to help. I will be hosting this at least for the next 2 months, and then I am in Africa for about a month, so we might not have it there in May. But for the next 2 months, I'm with you for every Sunday. We're doing a West African tour. We're going to 6 countries in West Africa, and all of that will be coming on the channel, but that's something for another day. So hopefully we're here for the next few weeks. Oluwato saying it's a French-speaking country, but the degree certificates has been translated to English already. Okay, so yeah, they will accept that. Yeah, they don't discriminate what country you are coming from. You're coming for a master's, so there's no problem. There's no problem with that at all. Okay, so we've got a few questions on YouTube quickly. Oh, okay. So it was just Kyle there saying thank you. Okay, thank you for joining. I hope you're still there. I did abandon YouTube for a while because we had quite a few people waiting on Instagram. So, yes, it's drawing to a close now. I do this for 1 hour on a Sunday. I always find myself doing it for 2 hours, but we're always happy to take your questions. It's been another really good, informative one, I hope. I hope you've got something out of this. This is what we hope to give. And I hope that has helped all of you this evening. I've just got one question coming in there on Instagram. When switching from tier 2 to tier 4, an agent said he can give a COS because it doesn't require one working with the organization. That doesn't require one working with the organization. I don't think that's a question for live. Message me. If you're talking about things that are not quite, send me a message and we can discuss that in detail, okay? Dami, Ima, we will speak about that in private. I can give you some more advice on that. Okay, so yes, we have one more on YouTube. People always try and slip in messages just before I go. No problem, we'll take them. Hi, question 1. Oh, there's more than one. Okay, we are rounding up, so I'll see how many I can take. Is it possible for me to get an apartment while I'm still in Nigeria? Secondly, can you talk more on Colchester? You cannot, if you're coming to Colchester, you cannot get an apartment from Nigeria. You will have to be here. Colchester is very high demand. You might be going to Anglia Ruskin University. It's very high demand. The prices there, I'm not too sure what you want. You should be looking between 950 to 1,200 because I have helped a couple there recently. So Colchester is very high demand. You need to be here to get and do your interview viewings. Lillian, thank you so much. Your content is always helpful. Thank you. Spread the word. Tell someone. Put it in the group somewhere. Tell them we're here helping people. Okay, so I'm going to ignore a few thing. Arabella, Bolton has been a part of Manchester. I hope it's a good place for a couple to settle in. Yes, it's very lovely. I did some training up there when I was an engineer. It's a lovely place to be. It's quiet, it's nice. Lot of Nigerians in the university, good community. You will like Bolton, so not to worry, Arabella. Oluwatosin, just like you advised that coming as a skilled worker is more better than a student, but we got an agent saying about 10 million. Okay, I mean, that's the processing fee. You know, these things are not cheap. You won't get much cheaper than that. And it's still cheaper than school fees. So I think go for it if you can. Bella, can you get an apartment in Bolton from Nigeria? If you are looking for a studio or 1 bedroom, there's one on our page now. Any properties managed by us from the landlord, we can certainly help with that. So with that, we come up to 10 o'clock. So we're just right on the hour. Thank you, everyone, for joining. If you have any more detailed questions, please feel free to send us a DM. We're always here to help you. We might not answer straight away. Some people are very demanding. Answer me. Like we're doing hundreds of things. Send us a DM. We'll get back to you as soon as possible. Not a problem. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. I appreciate your support. Join us on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel. We'll see you next week. Thank you. Thank you. Have a good evening. Have a good weekend. Bye.